Have you ever felt like no matter how hard you try to improve yourself, you're still stuck in the same patterns? You read books, you meditate, you try to be more patient, more kind, more focused, but somehow deep down, something doesn't change. It's like putting on new clothes over the same old skin. Jiddu Krishnamurti had something shocking to say about this. He said, "The moment you try to become something, you're in conflict." Wait, what? Isn't personal growth supposed to be a good thing? Isn't trying to be better the whole point of life? Not according to Krishnamurti. He believed that the very effort to become better is the problem, because when you're trying to become something, you're rejecting what you are right now. You're saying, "I'm not enough. I'm not okay. I must become someone else." And in that rejection comes conflict, an inner war. Think about it. When you say, "I want to be more peaceful," you've already told yourself that you're not peaceful now. So you start to fight your own anger. You resist your emotions. You suppress what's real in the name of becoming what's better. But Krishnamurti asks, what if there's nothing to become? What if freedom doesn't come from becoming something else, but from seeing clearly what you already are, without judgment? He didn't believe in gradual self-improvement. He believed in direct insight, right now, not tomorrow. Not through years of practice or discipline, but through awareness, through deep observation, without the desire to change anything. That sounds strange, right? We've been taught all our lives that change comes from effort, from hard work, from pushing ourselves to be better. But what if that very effort is what keeps us trapped? Because effort comes from desire, and desire comes from comparison, and comparison is suffering. When you try to be better than who you are, you create a gap between what is and what should be. That gap is where fear lives, where shame grows, where anxiety takes over. Krishnamurti says, freedom is in the ending of becoming, not in becoming something more, but in ending the struggle altogether. So what does that mean in everyday life? It means instead of saying, "I must be more confident," you observe your insecurity. You sit with it. You listen to it, without trying to fix it. Instead of saying, "I shouldn't be angry," you feel the anger. You understand it. You don't act on it blindly, but you also don't fight it like it's your enemy. Because in that awareness, in that space where you're not judging yourself, something begins to shift. Not because you forced it, but because truth has its own intelligence. Krishnamurti didn't offer methods. He didn't give you steps or systems. He said, look, observe, be aware. Not through the lens of how to improve, but through the eyes of a curious child who sees without labeling, who watches without trying to control. This goes against everything we've been taught. And maybe that's why it's so powerful. Because the truth is, when you stop trying to be better, you begin to be real. And when you're real, you're not divided inside, you're whole. That's when true change happens. Not from effort, but from insight, from silence, from seeing. So maybe the next time you catch yourself trying to be a better person, pause. Ask yourself, what's wrong with who I am right now? Who told me I'm not enough? And just for a moment, be still. Watch. Listen. Not to become anything, but to understand everything. Because in that stillness, you might discover that what you were chasing was already there, just hidden beneath the noise of becoming. But let's be honest, this isn't easy. We live in a culture obsessed with becoming. Become more successful, more attractive, more productive. There's a whole industry built on the idea that you're not enough and that you need fixing. Self-help books, motivational speakers, endless morning routines. And sure, some of it can be helpful. But when you dig beneath the surface, you'll often find the same message. You're broken, become better. And Krishnamurti would say, that message is violence in disguise, because it keeps you running. Running from yourself, running from your fears, running from your past. He said something powerful. It is no measure of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society. Maybe the real sickness isn't in us, Maybe it's in the very idea that we must always be someone else. So what happens if we stop? Stop running. Stop fixing. Stop pretending. Something strange happens. You begin to feel, not numb, not distracted, but truly present. You notice how your thoughts move, how fear creeps in, how your mind compares and judges and hopes, and you begin to understand it, not by analyzing it, but by watching it. Like you'd watch a bird on a branch, silent, still, curious. Krishnamurti didn't ask us to become spiritual. He didn't ask us to believe anything. He simply asked us to see, to be fully awake to what is. And when you see clearly, without filters, without resistance, without trying to escape, something incredible happens. The very thing you thought you needed to change begins to dissolve. Not because you fought it, but because awareness is enough. Awareness brings its own transformation. That's the paradox. The less you try to become someone else, the more you return to who you really are. Not the image, not the story, not the mask, but the living presence underneath it all. And maybe that's the freedom Krishnamurti spoke of. Not the freedom to become something, but the freedom from needing to. That kind of freedom isn't glamorous. It's not flashy. You can't post it on Instagram. You can't package it into a course. But it's real. It's in the quiet moments. When you're not performing. When you're not chasing. When you're just here. You begin to see that you don't need to prove anything. You don't need to impress anyone. You don't need to achieve some perfect version of yourself. Because you're not a project, you're a person. And being alive, truly alive, doesn't require improvement. It requires presence. So here's a thought. What if today, you gave yourself permission to stop trying to be better? Not out of laziness, but out of love. What if you looked at yourself with the same compassion you might offer a child or a friend in pain? Not because you want to change them, but because you simply care. Krishnamurti said, when you begin to understand what you are without trying to change it, then what you are undergoes a transformation. That's the kind of transformation the world rarely talks about. But maybe it's the only one that truly matters. So don't try to be a better person. Try to be an honest one, a present one, a whole one. And from that wholeness, kindness comes naturally, peace grows effortlessly, wisdom flows without effort, not because you chased them, but because you stopped running. So maybe this isn't about giving up. It's not about becoming passive or lazy or careless. It's about shifting the direction of your attention from chasing improvement to understanding yourself as you are. Because when you really look, you'll see that a lot of your desire to be better comes from fear. Fear of not being accepted. Fear of being alone. Fear of not being enough. But fear is never a good teacher. It can push you, sure, but it doesn't bring peace. It doesn't bring clarity. It just makes you run faster. In the same circle. Krishnamurti wasn't asking you to settle. He was asking you to wake up, to see the trap for what it is, to understand that becoming better is often just another form of escape, another way to avoid facing what's actually here, right now. And what's here is you, with all your thoughts, your feelings, your contradictions. Not perfect, not broken, just human. And that's enough. You don't need to carry the weight of becoming. You don't need to fix every flaw, silence every emotion, or meet every expectation. Instead, you can just begin to see, to watch your mind, your reactions, your stories, to become intimate with your inner world, without judgment, without trying to control it. And in that honest, quiet seeing, something deeper awakens, a kind of intelligence that's not born of books or techniques, but of presence, of stillness, of truth. That's the space where love grows, not a love that comes from effort, but one that arises naturally when the mind is no longer divided. That's the space where compassion is real, not as a practice, but as a natural response to understanding yourself. And maybe that's where true goodness begins. not in trying to be good, but in being whole. So if there's one thing to take from Krishnamurti's teachings, it might be this. Stop trying to be better, start being real. And from that honesty, everything changes. Not because you forced it, but because truth transforms. Thank you for watching. And remember, you are not a problem to be solved. You are a presence to be witnessed, in stillness, in awareness, in freedom.